won't be able to attend. Could you summarize briefly your top tips for student motivation, generally what you're going to be talking about?
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to be talking a lot about cosmology, of course, and physics, because that's what I'm interested in and what I do. But also, as I was asked to give, and it was really interesting for me to think about it actually, asked to give an overview of my career in the sense of how I got to where I am. So I'm a professor of physics here in Manchester, but also obviously the television stuff and things like that. So how did that happen? I'm also going to talk about Richard Feynman, who is another great hero of mine, Nobel Prize winning physicist, who wrote a brilliant essay, or it was actually a speech he gave that he turned into an article called The Value of Science. And so it's contemplating what is the most valuable thing about science. And obviously some of the valuable things are medical research and increased life expectancy and all those things. But he said the most valuable thing is the way of thinking, because science is, he defined it as a satisfactory philosophy of ignorance, which is the idea that you are usually wrong. I mean, almost always you're wrong in science. You can be wrong, because if whatever you said disagrees with nature, then you are wrong.
So do you feel that even for students who don't study science, like me, I study creative writing, how important do you think it is for us arts and humanities students at university to also have a basic understanding of science and scientific principles and maintain a level of intellectual curiosity for scientific advances and developments?
I think it's important both ways. I think it's important for science students to understand something about the humanities and the arts, and also the other way around, because what we're really talking about at a university like this is producing people who are going to contribute to civilization, to society. And society is made up of lots of different bits, and I don't think that putting them into silos actually is particularly useful. We need to know our place in the universe in order really to understand the value of our civilization. So those things, those facts that we get from science, plus, as I said before, the way of thinking, are things that I think should be available to everybody. They're actually a necessary part of everybody's education.
I mean, you yourself, you're an extremely prolific scientist. You've written so many scientific publications, books, you've been on TV, you lecture here, obviously. So how do you motivate yourself, and how do you motivate yourself to always go above and beyond what's expected or required of you, and always pursue personal growth and development independently?
It's a really good question. It touches on something actually that I think is really important, which is that why do you come to university at all? And there are many reasons, and it sometimes can seem to be to get a qualification so I can get a better job. But it's not that at all. It's about learning curves and about using your mind, and therefore expanding it and expanding your mental capabilities by using your brain and being exposed to new ideas. And that for me is what I've always found exhilarating about physics, but also about other things that I do. I was a musician for a while, and I find it exhilarating to learn new things. And I think that's really important, I think, at university, to know that when you get here, I know there's a great focus, partly because it's expensive and partly because you're interested in your career afterwards. But actually, I really believe, and I say to students, just if you enjoy yourself and you learn and you take responsibility for understanding things and understand them, just keep going until you understand stuff, you'll be fine. You don't need to you'll pass the exams because you've understood your subject. So you don't need to. Well, you will. I think you will, actually. I think if you know, we all know deep down whether we understand something or not. And sometimes it takes a long time to understand things, and sometimes you can understand them very quickly. And everybody, I was going to say everybody's different, but nobody understands everything very quickly. Everybody gets stuck on something. And once you develop that skill, that you say, am I kidding myself? Do I understand this or not? If you really say, yes, I do, you will pass the exam and you'll do well in the exam. And actually, more than that, I'm one of the. I've talked to other fellow professors about this. I want to abolish first year exams. Right. That would be something that I would like to see at university. We talk about it a lot because I want students to come to university and be faced with an existential crisis, which is like, why am I here? Right? Because I'm not here to pass the exam, because there isn't one. Right? So therefore, what am I doing? And of course, physics students are here to learn about nature. That's actually what you're here to do. You're not here to pass the exam. I actually don't care whether my first year students pass the exam or not. I know there's a mechanism by which if you really fail, you get thrown out. But I don't really care about that. I care about people enjoying the act of learning and understanding.
Are you on strike right now? Sorry.
Yes, with everybody else.
Yes, you are.
Yeah,
no, we're just wondering.
It's a very complex problem, and I think if you want to, those that are listening, if you want a really good overview of it, Andrea Seller, who's a good friend of mine from UCL, who also people might know from television programs, he's a professor at UCL. He wrote a brilliant blog post just detailing
about
precisely
the strikes or about pension
about
scheme.
both, and about how to, well, not how to think. He's obviously not saying that you should think this, but it's a good overview of all the little different components of what the problems are. And there are problems, but there are problems with many pension schemes, which I think are also problems for society. They're problems that society is storing up for the future. So it's a much wider problem that we have to face, I think, about how to deal with an ageing population, how to deal with people that live longer, how much of your pay should you defer, which is what a pension essentially is.
So where do you fear this might go with pension insecurity?
Well, financial insecurity in general, obviously, is not only a problem for the individual, it's a problem for society. We've seen that. If you have widespread loss of opportunity and financial insecurity, then in a democracy you can make bad decisions as a country. I think it's a much wider problem